Right, let me pass it over now to Peder Nelson. He's going to be continuing what a lot of the discussion that he's been talking about, with story mapping and, looking visually to answer questions. And as a reminder, again, we are down to the wire for IVSS submissions. So, feel free to, take, really pay attention to this if there's any like last minute things that you or your students need to do for submitting to IVSS. So take it away, Peter.
Thanks so much. This has been a really wonderful time to see people not only thinking about and going out and doing observations, but actually doing something in their environment like this. And so, one of the things that I just wanted to start off with and kind of show is an area that here is in northern Minnesota in the United States. And here is an area that was planted several years ago, and you can actually see like these small trees that were planted here. Some nice changing colors. You can see how tall the trees used to be here in this environment. And so, like I mentioned, these actually, when you look at the classification, are below that 5-meter mark for what we call a tree in the globe world. And so, this is a great example of how the land cover tool can be used to monitor how well these trees actually grow over time. And again, these pictures are great remote sensing. You are actually measuring that light. And so this is an area that I hope to continue to see monitor over the next 10, 20 years. Trees grow slower in some places than others. And so from space, we actually, when we flip over here in our globe visualization tool here, we can actually turn on that satellite map, and we can actually see how little we can actually see those little trees from space like this. Even if we zoom in, we don't see those trees that were planted there on the ground, or a little bit more down here, right? Mostly what we see is the shrubs that are in that area. And so, we can see what the trees used to look like, or that continuous tree area like that. But this is one of the ways that scientists use this remote sensing, this satellite view, to actually track these trees over time. I will highlight that, in fact, one of the things that we use is the shadow from the trees to track the tree height. And we can even tell what type of tree it is by that shape of that shadow. And so these are diagnostic tools or ways that we can monitor this area over the next 5, 10, 20 years. And so, one of those things that I just kind of want to highlight about planting trees and monitoring them over time is how you can use the surrounding area to actually help us to see how tall those trees are over time. And so here's another example of that shadow that relates to how tall that tree is in that location. So, even on the GlobeViz system, you can use this information, this high resolution imagery, to watch and monitor that location over time. One of the things that when we go back to our tree height here on our legend, right? Sometimes those young trees that are planted don't show up on this map. And I've had this happen for those trees that are below 5 meters. They don't show up on the map because they don't meet that 5-meter criteria of what is a tree in the globe world. And so just kind of something that happens when you start interacting with the database itself. So that's some of my insights, and I just want to encourage people to use the tools that are available to track these things over time like that. And sometimes there's data in the database that isn't revealed to you through this visualization system like this. But I want to take us back to where I left off last webinar. we had been talking about the story maps. And so if you are using the ArcGIS online environment to create your story maps, to actually help provide that context, one of the things that I want to highlight today is some of the satellite imagery that's available. And so if you want to know how we got data out of the Globe visualization system or out of the Globe database into this map product, into the ESRI story maps or ArcGIS Online, go back and watch that. It was about 20 minutes sort of pulling the data out and making it and formatting it so that we can actually start putting it together with some other satellite data. Again, we have some options in terms of, that similar satellite imagery. And if we zoom in on an area where we actually have trees, one of the things that I'll highlight is that sometimes the points don't actually end up right on the top of the trees themselves. And so this is where using particular satellite data can reveal some of this spatial locations of the data. And so, if we think about the tree that we planted, sometimes that location is a little bit different in the database. So just, I want you to be aware of that when you're making your map for the IVSS, or when you're starting to analyze your data in relation to satellite data like this. And so one of the things that, I'll kind of alert is we have these trees that are located in this baseball field, in this grassland area. That is an interesting thing to talk about, actually. Are they referring to these trees on the edge of this parking lot? And so this is something that you want to check with your data when after you upload it to the database. Use this imagery to actually double check that the location ends up in the right place. Otherwise, that's sort of a first check when we're starting to look at our data and to think about our data. So I want to highlight that, because then if we actually want to look at some other satellite data, ArcGIS Online provides a lot of satellite imagery that's available. So we can come in here and we can actually search for like Landsat data. And so this is a satellite data that's been collected over the last 30 years from space. And this company, ESRI, has brought that into the system to make it relatively easy for us to work with. There's a couple different options. One is a survey that they've done, or that they put together, 1975, 1995, 2005. And if we actually bring that in, then we can actually start to see these fuzzy pixels, right? This resolution difference between what we like to see on the ground with the high resolution versus what we see with a different satellite. And so, one of the things to notice is how the grasslands show up as bright green versus areas that are trees, which actually have that shadow. So when I was talking about tracking tree height using the shadow, that's actually why we get this little, this other green color here versus that more neon green color that we see. So that shadow is really important when we start thinking about our satellite data. Um, and so that's one of these things that when you start bringing in the satellite data, you have to start thinking about resolutions, whether that's a single tree out there or whether that tree has a lot of neighbors and is considered more of a forest area. So one of the things that I wanted to do with this is now that I have some satellite data, I have a map. In your story map, I'm going to save this. Always a good thing to do when you're working with any software. Is if you go to your story map that you're creating, you get this option of adding text, adding images, some other things like that that we've highlighted before. I'd like to actually use this swipe tool. And this allows me to have two maps that allow me to show the changes. Or if you have images that you've taken at one point in time, like before you did the tree planting, and then another one afterwards, you can use this swipe tool to actually show that difference between them. So it can be a really valuable thing. And so here, I'm just going to actually add in this web map that I was just showing you here. I'm going to select my tree map that I was just working with. And here we have an option of showing that data or not showing it. So I can actually turn on or off these layers. And so I'm going to start with it turned off. And I'm going to place that map in my story map. And so you actually see here it is on one side. And then we have this slider bar that allows us to do a comparison. I'm going to go back and I'm going to add in that same map again. And this time I'm going to leave this satellite data on so that we can actually do a comparison between these two different satellite views. And so now you can actually see how in my story map, we can actually go between the high resolution imagery, and I can swipe back and forth to actually show what it looks like in a moderate resolution, in an enhanced view. And so you notice that there are some differences here where the grassland actually shows up a little bit more vibrant, and where the urban areas are actually highlighted in this kind of purple color from the asphalt. And so, again, I can actually zoom in a little bit on this map and be able to show this area in multiple views. So that was really what I wanted to highlight for you guys today, is how easy it is to add in multiple views of the same area into a story map so that you can actually show this satellite view together with some of the other information that you're pulling together. And again, the more you zoom in, the more detail that you might get on one map versus what we get from from the other satellite data that's available here. So I encourage you to explore some of these options when you're telling your story so that you can take advantage of this overlay option to be able to show a location in high resolution or this more moderate resolution view of things. And so, we'll continue looking at how you can track your tree growth over time in webinars in the future. But I wanted to make sure that you all got this option to add this particular way of having this overlay into your own story map for your virtual science symposium submission that you're doing. So I hope I added a little bit new way that you can use the story maps. I know that was pretty fast, but I think Brian is also pretty fast at breaking down this webinar and giving you just the pieces that you need with things. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what you all are going to submit and seeing all of the great work you with the Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Peter. And I mentioned, Peter, before you could join us today, that, between this webinar and the next webinar, we're going to go through the IVSS projects and see, how many, trees campaign related IVSS project were submitted. And, and I know that some are submitting them as story maps. So, and thanks to you and Dorian for really bringing that to the forefront of, a much not really a traditional way to do, much more, modern way to do a research project. And Globe was, Globe as a whole, the Globe Implementation Office was really keen on this. They really wanted to see that. So they added that option in there as, instead of submitting a poster, you can submit or a report to IVSS, you can submit a story map of your research. So really cool. And thanks again so much for that. Does anybody have any questions for Peter before we move on quickly? We have two things quickly we want to cover before we're about 9 minutes away from the end of the webinar. And if you have anything, you can also put it in the chat as well. And Peter, anything else
Yeah,
that you want?
I just want to highlight that you know, the pictures that we're getting through the Globe Observer are great Zoom backgrounds for anybody who needs something different in their life. You know, I've been actually, you know, going around the world using the Globe visualization system and finding some really interesting locations. And so I just kind of wanted to highlight and give a shout out to everybody who, you know, gets to go to Alaska and look at the type of trees that we have there. You know, be able to go to Australia and look at the lack of trees in that area. You know, for me, you know, being here in Oregon, we've been getting a lot of snow. And so, you know, here is a recent snowstorm that has given us almost 400 centimeters of snow depth in this location. You know, being able to go to New York and look at the density or the type of trees that are there. So I just want to encourage everybody to, you know, take a look at the globe visualization system and take a tour of the trees around the globe